Friedrich Nietzsche stands at one of the most dramatic crossroads in Western history. At a time when centuries of religious faith were collapsing, he dared to ask, what comes next? If God was no longer the foundation of morality, values, and meaning, what could possibly take its place? For Nietzsche, this was not just a theoretical question, it was the defining problem of the modern world. And his answer would change philosophy forever. Nietzsche was born in 1844 in Prussia, the son of a Lutheran pastor. His childhood was marked by both deep religious immersion and deep tragedy. When he was still a boy, his father died from a painful brain disease, followed soon after by his younger brother. Nietzsche learned early what it meant for the innocent to suffer without reason. For many, such suffering was explained, even justified, by religion. But as Nietzsche grew older and sharper in his thinking, he found himself unable to reconcile faith with reality. After a brief attempt at theology, he abandoned Christianity altogether. But letting go of faith created a new problem. Without God, what gives life meaning? What keeps morality intact? What prevents despair from swallowing everything? Nietzsche saw that if society lost its faith without creating something new, it would collapse into nihilism, the belief that life is meaningless. This is where one of his most famous phrases comes in, God is dead. It was not a celebration, but a warning. The death of God meant the death of everything built on that foundation, morality, truth, and meaning itself. And without a replacement, humanity would face a dangerous void. So what was Nietzsche's solution? First, he rejected the idea of universal, objective truths. There are no facts, only interpretations, he wrote. Truth was not a thing waiting to be discovered, it was something we create. This might sound destabilizing, but for Nietzsche, it was liberating. If meaning is not handed down from above, then it becomes our task to create it ourselves. And that creation, he believed, happens most powerfully through art, philosophy, and human creativity. Not as entertainment, but as a way of shaping reality and giving life form and value. But Nietzsche didn't stop there. He knew culture could decay, becoming hollow or commodified. That's why he placed the ultimate responsibility on the individual. At the center of his philosophy is the idea of the Übermensch, often translated as Overman or Superman. The Übermensch is not a comic book hero, but an ideal of what a human being could become. Someone who does not rely on inherited values, who doesn't follow the herd, but instead creates their own. A bold, unapologetic figure who turns suffering into strength, who transforms chaos into meaning, who lives life as a work of art. The Übermensch is not meant to be fully reached. It is a guiding star, an image of what we could become if we constantly strive towards self-overcoming. This connects to another of Nietzsche's central ideas, the will to power. Every living thing, Nietzsche argued, is driven not just by survival, but by the desire to expand, to grow, to overcome limits. This will to power is not simply domination over others, it is mastery over oneself. It is the drive to become more than you are, to rise after every fall, to use suffering as fuel for growth. Here Nietzsche breaks away from the pessimism of thinkers like Schopenhauer, who believed life's suffering was something to minimize. Nietzsche believed suffering was not only inevitable but necessary. If we have our own why in life, we shall get along with almost any how. Suffering without meaning is despair. But suffering with purpose can be transformed into strength. For Nietzsche, the curse of humanity was not pain itself, but meaningless pain. This is where Nietzsche's philosophy speaks directly to us today. We live in a time of uncertainty, when old systems of belief and meaning continue to crumble. Technology, politics, culture, everything shifts faster than ever, and many feel lost in the void. Nietzsche offers us a challenge: do not look outward for ready-made answers. Create meaning yourself. Treat your life as a canvas, your struggles as raw material, your existence as a work of art. To live as Nietzsche imagined is to embrace self-overcoming. To constantly die to who you were, in order to become who you might be. Nietzsche himself lived in pain and isolation. His final years were consumed by madness, and during his life he was largely ignored. But his philosophy endures, precisely because it confronts a problem that has never gone away. Without external guarantees, how do we live meaningfully? Nietzsche's answer was not comfortable, but it was profound: by creating values, by affirming life even in its suffering, by striving toward the ideal self we can never fully reach. And so his words echo still, not as commandments, but as a dare. A dare to overcome, to create, to live. Become who you are. Thank you for sharing this moment of reflection. If these thoughts stayed with you, let them remind you that presence itself is enough. For more journeys into awareness, philosophy, and wonder, stay with us. Subscribe, so the next time you're searching for meaning, you'll know where to return.